Okay, let's see if this is on.
Let's go. Okay, there you go. All right, so what we're going to do is try to, in an organized fashion, ask these gentlemen questions. I'm going to come around with the microphone. It'll be much easier for everyone to hear. Don't start your question until I come to you. So, hands. Okay, we'll start over here.
I don't know about anyone else, but the 5% success rate on retrofittings terrifies me. And so I guess my question is, what is your recommendation about getting my retrofit inspected by someone who knows what they're doing? How do I find someone who knows what's supposed to happen? And should I have that done? Because I don't really know. I haven't crawled under my house since I bought it. Do I need to do that?
Well, as an engineer on the panel, personally, I would recommend hiring an engineer. If you have the cookie cutter house, then it's really not much work for them to put together cookie cutter plans. They can even use, pre-made details. Have them put the design together. Get a couple contractors to bid on the work. Hire a contractor, do the work. Have your engineer, as part of their contract, include what we call structural observation. Have them come look at the work and say, yes, this was done to my drawings, this meets all the requirements, or if not, the contractor needs to fix it. That's my personal opinion. That's how, in my professional practice, which is, we do, we do some residential, we do a lot of hospitals and commercial buildings, and that's always part of my contract with the owner, is to come and watch what the contractor has done and make sure that it conforms with the design drawings I've put together. Because ultimately, as the engineer of record, I'm responsible for what was done, and I'm going to make sure that it was done properly. Otherwise, I'm going to say, sorry, this wasn't done properly. I'm not going to say that the job is done. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on your opinion.
I agree with Adrian that if you have something other than a very simple kind of a house, that the best thing is to have an engineer design the retrofit. If it's just a very simple kind of a layout where it's nothing unusual, then if you start asking around for people to make recommendations, you could end up with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So, or you could call me and I'll make some recommendations to you, or call me and I'll be glad to talk with you about that. And I've got cards with me, and I'm going to make sure everybody's got my card before I leave.
Take a copy of this booklet and educate yourself. This booklet's very simple, and you will become a lot smarter about what you're buying. So that's the best. That's my advice. And I'm sorry, I don't have enough for everyone, but if you can get them as a group and pass them out at your next meeting, get another bundle of them. But anyway, be an educated consumer. I think that's the best thing. One other thing, I just want to mention to you that I would, to me, in an earthquake, I have a hammer that I keep under the bed. And if doors get stuck, windows get stuck in an earthquake, I think to have a hammer and a flashlight in your bedroom, just under the bed, and every once in a while replenish it, is one of the best things you can do. Also, the other thing that I do is I take an old pair of boots, and I got one in the car, I got one in my wife's car, so if you're someplace and something happens, you're not, at least you're equipped to be able to help people a little bit. So those few things I think really make sense.
The hammer, I've never even thought of that, but what I recommend to people is they keep a crowbar under their bed, but one or the other or both. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so I'm taking the next question. Oh, I want to make my way over.
So in the city of Berkeley, if you use Plan Set A, get a permit from the city to do the work, and it's a cookie cutter house, does the city not inspect that after
The question is about inspection of Plan A, Plan A after the work is done.
don't expect the city to give you any value for the money you spent on the permit in terms of checking the details, because they won't even go under the house. So that money that's about revenue for the city to take care of their issues. So I think that's what you're asking. Don't depend on them to assure that you've gotten a decent job. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so no.
Question, who's next? Okay, we have one next.
So I'm going to try and make it kind of short and quick. Two questions. One is, our shut-off valve for our gas was stuck, and it wasn't painted over.
The shut-off valve was, you can't hear this up there?
Can't hear.
We can't hear.
Okay. So the valve for our gas shut-off was stuck and it wasn't painted on, and we called PG&E and they refused to do anything about it. In fact, the technician was like, he needed help to turn it off. Do you have any suggestions on what other lies to throw at that to make them fix it, or? And I can ask.
Okay. I only had one person one time call me and tell me that they had called PG&E like I told them to, and were told on the phone, oh, that's not our responsibility. I told that lady, you call them back and ask for a supervisor. It's absolutely their responsibility. So do that, talk to a supervisor and just say, this is a safety problem. That'll get their attention real quick. This is a safety problem. Do you want the responsibility of my manual valve not working? I mean, I've never heard what you're saying before, but if you get a supervisor on the phone, I guarantee you, you must have just talked to somebody that didn't know what they were.
I did call them back and I told them that I couldn't turn it off and my wife couldn't turn it off, so if either of us had to turn it off, we wouldn't be able to turn it off. So, and they said, well,
talk to a supervisor.
Okay.
If you don't have any luck, call me, please, and I will get in touch with them, and we'll get them.
One other thing that I recommend to you is what I used to do on my inspections is I would carry a can of red spray paint and I would just spray the valve, the manual shutoff valve.
Right.
So people in the middle of the night would say, oh, was it this? Was it this? What was he talking about? So I would spray it. But even a better idea is take an old jar of nail polish and go out there and just paint it red. So if you have to find it in a hurry in the middle of the night, you'll be able to find it.
So, and my other question is, so if you need to add to your foundation with another wall, and that's to the engineer probably, are there any standard ways to tie an additional foundation wall to the existing foundation wall, like strength-wise, do these two?
You're putting another foundation wall inside your existing one?
Or replacing one. There's all the perimeter and one of the foundation walls, one of the internal ones is done. We need to do one more. That's still the old one. I don't know. This was done before.
I've seen that technique used with putting an accompanying foundation on the inside of a foundation that's decrepit or bad. I've never liked it as a technique. I just
not adding to it, but replacing it.
Well, if you're replacing an old foundation with a new foundation, the law is that it has to be bolted, steel reinforced and bolted. So that's not even a question.
To the rest of the new foundation?
Any new foundation, any foundation done after the 70s has to be bolted. The frequency and size of bolts has increased as we've understood more about why structures fail, but they have to be bolted.
Right, no, so what I mean is bolting the concrete, one piece of concrete to another.
Oh, well,
how do these?
That's steel reinforcing. That's easy. We do that all the time. You drill a hole, you put a piece of steel in it with epoxy, and you put it in at random angles so it can't pull apart. We do that all the time. You must tie the old to the new. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
so this is fairly standard practice, I guess.
Not fairly standard. If someone doesn't understand that, you got the wrong contractor.
One thing, too, that I think is worth mentioning, and Adrian, I don't know if you agree with this, but I've had more than one engineer tell me that they think that a lot of people have been talked into either replacing or beefing up, or capping their foundation when it didn't need it. It just didn't need it, and it was perfectly adequate to perform its function and to be retrofitted. So,
Oh, that's loud. That's right. Okay, just a second, I'm just putting some lights on. It's good to look like in here. All right, hand in the back.
My name's Mark Gilligan. I'm a structural engineer, and I've been practicing for over 40 years. I've done my fair share of single-family residences and modifications to them. All this stuff about when do I need to see an engineer, I think the default is see an engineer, because a lot of the advice that you get from contractors may be well-meaning. They don't have the perspective. Pardon me, but that's what I see. If you have a problem, see an engineer, and that should be the end of it. And in terms of inspection, it needs to be looked at, but structural observation is not the same as inspection. So you need to have a discussion with your engineer about what he's going to inspect, and maybe you need to, under the building code, have something called special inspection. That depends on the nature of the project. So have that discussion. Also, a little comment on the gas shutoff valves. I think there was one thing that was left off there. I'm a fan of gas shutoff valves. I'm not a fan of PG&E, but before you turn it back on, you need to understand whether you have pilot lights and how to light them. And if you don't, hire a plumber, because you don't have to wait for PG&E.